Good evening. I am Etan Thomas, former NBA player with the Washington Wizards, and thank you for joining us here for our panel series, which we have extended beyond Black History Month. We are powered by Athletes for Hope, and in conjunction with Reverend Jesse Jackson's historic Rainbow Push Coalition, who have graciously purchased copies of my new book, Police Brutality and White Supremacy, The Fight Against American Traditions, which we have been focusing on throughout this HBCU tour. So we've been to Howard, Clark Atlanta, Southern University, and now we're with Morehouse. So looking forward to this discussion. So I'm gonna have everybody introduce themselves because I want to make sure that y'all get y'all proper introduction. So let's start off with Marques up here at the top left. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
So I'm actually Marques Gibson, a senior kinesiology major at Morehouse, a corner safety, defensive back on the football team.
Okay, cool. And Armani? Oh, did he freeze? Yeah. Oh, he might be frozen. Okay, all right. Demario, go ahead and introduce yourself, please, sir.
What's going on, man? Demario Davis, linebacker, New Orleans Saints, entering into my 11th season. Graduated from Arkansas State University.
Great. Khadevis, go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Khadevis Robinson, 2004 and 2012 Olympian, head cross-country coach over at the Ohio State University, and glad to be on the show.
Now, let me ask y'all, why y'all always say the Ohio State? Why is that always like what comes before Ohio State? Where did that start? I always wanted to ask one of y'all that.
Because it's the Ohio State University. So no other way of explaining it, you know?
I feel you. All right, cool. So I wanted to talk a lot about, first of all, about finding your voice. And it's an amazing process when you're going through it. Y'all are young at it at Morehouse. We'll get Armani back. You got. I see the phone spinning, so it'll come back in a little bit. But I want to start off with each of the professionals. Khadevis Robinson, you're a 3-time Olympic track and field athlete in the 800 meters. You know what I mean? You're a current track and field cross country coach at Ohio State University, the Ohio State University. And so, but what walk me through the process of finding your voice as you're going up through the ranks and how important it is. And the reason why I want to start here, I just want to explain, is because, athletes have a lot of power. Our voice has a lot of power. Our voice carries, whether it's on campus or in high schools. And we're as we were doing this tour, a lot of people have been showing it to their younger athletes, middle school athletes, high school athletes, and they're being inspired by it because a lot of times they didn't know the power of their voice. So hearing us talking about it has been inspiring them. So that's kind of what we're doing. I mean, and Marques, you're in college now and you might not even know it yet, but honestly, you are a role model for so many younger athletes because you are where they're trying to get to. You know what I mean? You're playing football in college. You know what I mean? So they're watching you. So that's why I really want to start off with the importance of finding your voice. So, Khadevis, talk to me about the process of when you found your voice.
Well, they say, and you said it earlier, that, you have the power. So the quote says, if you have the power, then be powerful. And so what happened to me is that, I'm from the inner city, from the ghetto, what people call it. And so I left there and went to TCU. I went to Texas Christian University in Fort Worth, Texas. And what I realized early on in college was that there's a such thing called participation points, which meant that when you're in college, the professors expected you to raise your hand and participate and speak. But because of where I was from, I didn't feel comfortable speaking in front of the class because my grammar wasn't good and all those types of things. But I had to. And the reason was because I wasn't going to get those participation points if I didn't speak. And so I had to really get on top of my game and learn that, okay, you know what? I'm trying to get an A. I want to go to, grad school or law school or whatever it may be. So I needed to raise my hand. I needed to, use my voice, and I needed to speak. So it started right there. And I realized by using my voice that a lot of the other students who wasn't athletes really enjoyed what I had to say, and they really took value in it. So then I realized, you know what, I'm more than just an athlete. I'm a student athlete, and so I brought that with me onto the professional ranks, and obviously now in my everyday working life.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Once you realize the influence that you can have, and really as athletes, that it's true, whether we want to be or not. Barkley. Remember back in the day, Charles Barkley had this commercial where he was like, I'm not a role model. You know what I mean? But I know what he was trying to say with the commercial. He was trying to say the role model should be your parents, your pastors, your teachers, everything like that. But reality is, especially for younger athletes, they look at older athletes that are in college, athletes that are professionals, and they're inspired by them one way or another. So that's beautiful that you've been able to inspire them. Demario, I want to ask you the same thing. When was you able to find your voice and realize your voice and the power that your voice had as an athlete?
Yeah, I think that was kind of twofold, and it's a journey, and I think I'm still even learning that to this day. How powerful that voice is, and what all you can do with your voice. I think for me, it initially started in college. Once I gave my life to Christ and started to realize how to use my voice for the kingdom and sharing the gospel, whether that was with my teammates or that was in the local community or with other kids on campus. And so I realized, that, I kind of had this voice and I had something to say, and I had something that I felt like people needed to hear. And so I just got very comfortable with sharing my beliefs with other people. And I think that's where it began. But realizing the power of a locker room, realizing that if I could influence my teammates, that these guys, whether they made it to the league or not, were going to be husbands, fathers, business leaders, and whatnot. And so I just wanted to reach the locker room. And how could I be an influence? Whether your voice isn't just words, it's much more actions. I feel like more is caught than taught. And so, just realizing like, dang, you are influential in the way that you show up every day. But then outside of the locker room, realizing the platform that I had inside the game, because of sports, it extended a much larger platform, meaning there was always eyes on us. And so I think individually what I learned was, with your voice, you have to use it responsibly. To whom much is given, much is required. And so literally what that means is, you have this gift that's been given to you or that's been entrusted to you. Now you have to steward that responsibly. You can't waste that. And so that means you don't just get to do whatever you want to do, because you're going to influence somebody, whether positively or negatively. And so being responsible is using that in a positive manner, right? And so then I think understanding even more once I got in the league of the power of athletes' voices collectively. And what I learned in that is, much different than individually, you need to learn how to leverage that strategically. And so when players come together, that is a very powerful voice where you can, change. And I've been a part of this. You can change legislation. You can get dollars allocated to spaces that need them. You can get corporations to act different. You can change rules of engagement. You can do so much from players acting collectively. And so understanding how to leverage those voices, how to bring those voices together in a certain way, and then how to leverage that to get whatever you want to get accomplished done. And so I just say individually, knowing how to use your voice responsibly, and then collectively knowing how to use your voice strategically is what I've learned.
It's interesting. I went to Syracuse University, and I remember my freshman year. I first got there, and Roland Williams, he was, one of the football players, and he was a part of a big rally, because what was happening was the campus police, they were allowing them to have pepper spray. And so the fear was that they was just going to be pepper spraying all the black and brown, fraternities or anything. Anytime something going on, we had the black parties and stuff like that. They just pepper spray everybody. That was the fear. So I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'd love to be a part of this. If this is an issue, then so me and him were the main athletes who stood by the student body while they brought this to the attention of the university. And it only really got attention because of us. That's the honest truth. Like in the papers, they had me standing next to Roland Williams. We both big, you know what I mean? And had us in, and then they were like, the athletes are leading a march. Now we weren't leading, we were just a part of it. But it got everybody's attention, and it ended up where they ended up not having the pepper spray the way that they wanted to implement it. And that just shows the power of the athlete voice. You know what I mean? And I was just stepping into it. And I didn't really, I wasn't planning on being like a spokesperson, but just lending your voice to something, another cause of the student body, you know what I mean, help to push it through. So I want to come to y'all and ask y'all if you do realize the power of your voice right now on campus. And Marcus, I'm gonna start with you.
So yes, I do. Just doing community service activities, like going to the schools, elementaries and middle schools that I've been to, reading. Little kids come up to me all the time. Hey, I want to be in your shoes. We had a rough little season that we just passed by. We didn't have our field and everything done, so we've been practicing at other schools' fields, and we practice at Washington. The high school students out there watching us, they talking to us before we get ready for practice. On campus, I have guys come to me every day. Hey, I haven't been recruited from Morehouse. I played sports in high school. I played football, basketball players, because I was a manager at one time for the basketball team. They come up to me asking me, can you get me in touch with this coach, that coach? I love to be a part of what you guys got going on. So yeah, I mean, I've been here since 2019, and it's been numerous. Like you said, like I see it every day. I hear it every day. They come to me every day. People DM me all the time, asking me about this and that. So just real supportive, and just want to be around and want to be together, and they just want to be with the Morehouse family. Like everybody just want to be around people from Clark. I got guys asking about transferring. You know what I'm saying? We're in the library, like we share a library, so it's guys asking me every day, hey, can you get me in touch with this coach? So yeah, I definitely have felt it since I've been here though.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Amari, how about you? Do you realize the power of your voice, and are you willing and able to step into that power? Because that's always the second part. You know what I mean? Are you willing to accept it?
Yeah, I'm willing to accept that power due to the fact that I have two younger brothers that also look up to me. So once I was always trying to get my younger brothers to play football or sports, to get into sports, be a good role model for them, due to the fact that our fathers wasn't in our lives. So I feel like I haven't found my voice on campus yet, but I'll give it time until I find my voice. But after the season I've had, I'm pretty sure that, I'll start getting a little more acknowledgement, and, a lot more people coming up to me talking and asking questions about how Morehouse is and how the football organization works and how's everything going.
It's interesting when you said that about having the father in your life. That was my upbringing as well. My parents got divorced when I was young. I saw my dad for like visitations, but it's not the same as having your father in your house, right? Correct. So it was about a decade ago, and I was playing with the Atlanta Hawks at the time, and we had a big panel at Morehouse University, with Spike Lee's panel. So all these different people were there. Stephen A. Smith was there, Alonzo Mourning, Jason Whitlock for some reason was on the panel. It was all those different people, right? So we're all talking about young men today and young people today, and they're saying how they're doing the statistics, and they're saying how, okay, if you come from a broken home, you most likely can end up this way, and you most likely will be able to go down this road, and you might, more likely to go join a gang or, something like that, always something negative. And so I was like, well, wait a minute now, it doesn't have to be that way. I came from that, you know what I mean? So, we have all these men, these young men in the audience. We can't tell them that's how they're going to be destined. They're in college right now. They're obviously doing well. So when I said that, I said it with passion, like how I'm talking now, because sometimes when you're talking about that, it just comes out. And so the whole crowd started clapping, right? So some of the other people took it kind of like I was trying to upstage them, but it was really just something where, afterwards, a lot of the young people came to me who said, hey, the fact that you said that and you're playing in the league and you're successful, that makes me feel that like some people are like, I've never met my father. Other people were like, yeah, my father was abusive, when we got him out the house. And, I've been, just taking care of my mom and my brothers and sisters since then. Or somebody else, that they had all these different stories. And I was just like, wow, like, it's amazing how hearing your story or your struggles, because a lot of times people see us, but they don't know the mountains that we had to climb to get to where we are. You know what I mean? So being able to see that is also another form of athletes using that power to influence other people. And I wanted to ask you, first of all, Khadevis, have you experienced anything like that where something from you that you normally wouldn't really share with people, to be honest with you, you know what I mean? But you did, and it ended up inspiring somebody else. Have you experienced that at all?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be able to travel to Zimbabwe, and when I was there, I shared my story, which, like I told you guys earlier, and it's amazing because a lot of people from certain parts of Africa, they think that all Americans are rich, and they think we have it made. And so once I explained to them that, we might have it pretty good in a sense, but a lot of us had struggles, and we had challenges, and we had to overcome obstacles and hurdles also. Even here in the U.S., they could resonate with that, and they can feel that sympathy and empathy, and saying that we can overcome things and we can achieve things. So being able to share your story, sometimes, like you said, you don't know how that's going to influence and affect people, and sometimes we don't want to share because we think, okay, well, maybe it's embarrassing for us, or maybe people won't understand it. But you never know that what your story can do for others. And they always say each one reach one, and I like to add on to that, each one reach one, teach one. It's like you teach through sharing your story. And the thing is, they say success leaves clues, right? But it's not only success, but failure leaves clues also. So you don't always have to just share your stories that you're proud about. You can share stories in which you made mistakes, and you learn from your mistakes. So yeah, for me, that was a big one, because I could see how me sharing my vulnerability and the struggles I had and have here in the U.S. and when I was younger, how people in Africa really resonated from it, and it gave them hope.
That's what's up. Demario, how about you? Have you had the same kind of experience where you share something personal of yourself, and it really wasn't planned that you was going to do that, but then it ended up inspiring somebody who is looking up to you because of the fact that you're an athlete? Have you experienced any of that?
Most certainly. I believe everything that you go through, especially the hardships in life, is there for your testimony, and people can be impacted by your testimony. A lot of times what I lead with in a lot of settings is, that I was expelled when I was in high school, and I went to jail my first year in college, right? Because I think that makes it real. And so, you immediately kind of remove this blemish-free, flawless person being in front of them, and they understand nah, I'm a man, that had a lot of grace and a lot of second chances, and then making the most of those opportunities when they came. But I think that being relatable and being real is what kind of removes other people's guards and allows them to be able to embrace you more.
I definitely agree. And Marcus, let me ask you this: what does it say to you hearing us talking about being vulnerable and open like that, to talk about some of our failures? Because sometimes as athletes, you're almost taught or programmed to be almost like you're robots. Like there is no fear, there is nothing. There's nothing. No, you know what I mean? You're able to conquer anything. Nothing was hard yet. But there's a certain power in being vulnerable. And being open to what you've had to conquer. Do you know what I mean? Like what goes through your mind of hearing us be so open about the things about our past?
I mean, it shows that, yeah, people think that just we athletes, we all have it made or whatever, but we all tend to go through the same things or like different struggles. Like we all are human. So like me, my freshman year, I was at school at Davenport University up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And it was the fourth game, and I get a call and we had a house fire. I'm all the way in Michigan, 12 hours away. I have a game this week, and my parents, we lost everything. You know what I'm saying? And
Wow.
so it was like it was big. I didn't want to play in the game. I wanted to go straight home, check on my people. And it's like I'm telling my teammates and my coaches, and it's like nobody has ever experienced anything like that. And it's just it built my whole team up. Like we end up crushing that week. We end up blowing that team out. But it's like my struggle or what I had going on, it elevated and empowered my team, coaches, and just the whole you know what I'm saying, organization. Like so, I mean, like I said, we all have struggles, and we just have to find some way to get through it. Like we're human, so it's gonna be hard at first, you know. But like one of my old coaches used to say, pain is temporary. You know what I'm saying? So you find a way to fight through it and just keep going.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Amari, same thing to you. You know, what are your thoughts hearing us being this vulnerable? And is that something that you have experienced of, you know, you opening up about some struggles that you've had and it ended up inspiring other people in the process?
Yeah, my senior year in high school, I ended up signing with UAB to in February, so I ended up signing in December, so I can end up leaving in January to go up early. Once I signed the papers, the day before I was supposed to leave, the admissions office called me and was like they wasn't going to accept me in due to 1 point on my ACT. So they tried to make me come down and take it the day after I was supposed to move on campus, but it was already the deadline. So they ended up telling me to just wait a whole year. So I ended up sitting out of football a whole year. I didn't play after I got out of high school, and I wound up at getting a call from one of the DB coaches at Morehouse, and I ended up at Morehouse. So once I went back to my high school to talk to all the younger kids that was looking up to me, you know, that was basically my coaches was always, you know, bragging about me, talking about how much of a role model I was on the team. So, and what I had to go through to get where I am. So I ended up going back, you know, sitting down, telling them, like, don't have your head down, keep your head up, keep striving. Always look for more. I always have a plan B, plan C, plan D. Don't always settle just for one plan, because that one plan ain't always gonna work the first time. So you got to have more than one plan.
Right. I think that's great. One of the things that I focus on in my book, Police Brutality and White Supremacy, the fight against American traditions, is the education system, and I'm very open about the way that Black men, in particular, are treated going through the education system many times. I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you know, sometimes, you know, young Black men are almost bullied by their teachers, almost discouraged by their teachers. I talk about myself, and it's interesting because I'm always using myself as an example. And they're like, you know, well, how do you remember these names so much? And I was like, oh yeah, I definitely remember. I remember my 5th grade teacher, Miss Collette, who told me I would never read on a, you know, on the same level of my class. I wouldn't be able to write in paragraph form because my brain was just developmentally slow. And it was always interesting because, you know, my mother, after that, I started getting into speech and debate when I was in high school and writing articles when I was in college. And she would always send my articles to Scolette when after I would do them. Then I wrote my first book, and she would send her a copy or a link to the first book and stuff. But I always tell the story because, you know, a lot of young Black men, especially young Black athletes, they're expected of so less in school. And I've had stories like that all the way through middle school, all the way through high school, all the way at Syracuse. I mean, my degree was in business management. I remember my calculus teacher telling me the first day of class, we had this big lecture hall. I'm walking down, and he said, "Wait a minute, aren't you Tom Thomas, that plays on the basketball team?" And I was like, "Yeah, now this is in front of everybody. This is in front of the whole lecture hall, right?" And he said, "What are you doing in my classroom?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Well, shouldn't you be in Roxford Jocks or something like that?" And I was just like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I can't believe this dude said this in front of everybody, you know. But then I had to prove myself in his class, and I had to prove myself of being worthy of being in his class. Then I had to not let him win. So I studied extra hard. Like, I was not going to, and calculus was the hardest class on earth. I don't know if any of y'all are taking calculus, but it's ridiculously hard. Like, don't even make no sense for the class to be that hard. But I made sure I wasn't going to let him win. It was like that movie Finding Forrester, if y'all ever saw that. But that's the situation that I was in, and I was in college. You know what I mean? So I write about that. I wrote about that in my book. I'm talking about that all the time. And I'm amazed at how many young Black males are in situations, especially in high school, even the middle school, where they still feel the same kind of discouragement from their teachers. But instead of saying, okay, I'm gonna prove them wrong, sometimes they go the other way. You know what I mean? Like, all right, you want to think that I'm a fool? I'm gonna show you what a fool look like. You know what I mean? But then they start going down a bad path, and it happens so much. But then even being able to explain to them that there's another way of doing it. So many of them have said, oh, that story that you told a long time ago when you was at my high school, it inspired me. And now I've had different Miss Colettes that I've had to, prove wrong or something like that. Talk to me about that, Khadevis. Have you experienced anything like that?
I think I've been fairly lucky in that sense. Either I was lucky enough to have teachers that kind of encouraged me and believed in me, or I just ignored them. I think my parents did a good job making me feel like that I was the smartest person in the world and all those types of things. So I didn't have a lot of negativity for us from, teachers or coaches that I can remember. But I was always one that, to be quite honest with you, like I said, my family and particularly my parents really instilled in me that I was all that. And to be quite honest with you, I truly believed it. I mean, when you're young, you just kind of believe that stuff. So by the time I got to the stage in which people started telling me the nonsense and started telling me the negativity, I just thought something was wrong with them, and I didn't believe them.
Oh, and that's the way you have to be, almost like a force field around you, that all of it bounces off you. And that's honestly what my mother, my grandmother, my grandparents, my grandfather all instilled in me, as far as like, it doesn't matter what anybody else say about you. You know what I mean? They're just wrong. Like I've had coaches, like my rookie year in the NBA, Coach Doug Collins, he said, I don't think you're going to be good enough to be able to get out of your rookie contract. And I was like, wow, really? But I had to prove him wrong. And I did prove him wrong. And I would write, I got into poetry and spoken word. So I actually wrote a whole poem about it that I used to perform all around DC. And when I wrote it, I actually gave it to him. You know what I mean? I sent it to him, that I made sure that he got it because he was doing commentating. And that was like the best feeling on earth because I proved him wrong. So I was always like, it would pump me up when somebody would tell me that I can't do something. You know what I mean? But that negativity. But the thing is, everybody doesn't have that same mindset where somebody tells you something negative and then they think to prove them wrong. Sometimes it crushes their spirit. Sometimes they believe the negativity. Sometimes they say, okay, well, maybe I'm not smart enough, or maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I'm not whatever it is enough. And that's the part where it's amazing to me that even me, writing that poem and telling this story all the time, how many people have come up to me and said, yo, that poem that you wrote, when you talking about your coach that said you weren't good enough and you proved him wrong, that inspired me because I had a coach that didn't think I was good enough. And it was just amazing. But Demario, I want to ask you, have you had different situations where either teachers or coaches or somebody didn't believe in you or told you that you weren't good enough and you had to prove them wrong? Have you ever had situations like that?
My internet acting up. You asked that to me?
Yeah, I said to you.
Oh yeah, all the time. I think of the reason why I became successful was because of the chip of all the people that I had to prove wrong. I've had head coaches that, pretty much looked me in my eyes and told me, my high school coach told me I wasn't going to play at the next level. My college coach looked at me and told me I wasn't going to make it to the pros, and so I think that made me a little more rebellious in nature, but it also put a chip on my shoulder that I was always out to try to prove people wrong. And I think in a lot of ways, it kind of started as a fuel to kind of prove them wrong, but then it became something of like a belief in myself. It's like if I put my mind to it, I don't need someone else's confirmation or validation. And that goes, that's kind of a gift and a curse, now because I'm in a situation, if I put my mind on something, no matter how big the dream is, you know, I believe I can. And, you know, no matter what the naysayers, I just think that their belief level isn't high enough. The reason I say it can kind of work against you is because a lot of times I need to be able to take in wise counsel from other people.
Okay.
And, you know, a lot of times I can justify that and just say, well, they just don't believe enough. But really, they're giving me wise counsel. Like, no, this really is a foolish decision you're about to make. You know, you might can do it, you know, 2 years from now, but trying to do it right now is just not the right time. And so I think a lot of ways that has helped me because, you know, that belief in myself allows me to think anything I put my mind to, I can conquer. You know, as I'm looking at ways that I'm transitioning out of the game, you know, probably here in the next 2 to 5 years, like thinking about all the off the field opportunities, but also making sure that I have a realistic plan. I need to have people who've walked before me that I can listen to instead of just always assuming that somebody is a doubter or a hater or whatever. So yeah, it's been a gift and things I've had to, like, you know, kind of keep an eye on as well.
So, and the reason why I want to keep repeating this so over and over again is because y'all will be amazed at how many young people watching this are dealing with haters or somebody who is telling them that they can't make it or can't do something right now. And they're listening to us talk about, you know, that in our life. They're listening to Demario talk about how he has to balance and be honest about it and say, I have to balance the difference between haters and people who are doing constructive criticism. You know what I mean? Like that's an honest thing that he was open about. I want y'all to tell me about what y'all think of the haters that y'all have had in y'all lives and how you had to overcome those haters. Marcus, I'm gonna start with you.
So yeah, recently, before the season had ended, I'm in the cab one day and I hear these group of dudes, they talking about how the football team is, because we started off rough. We started off with like 0-5. They talking about how the football team is so sorry and this and that. So I started, like, you know, talking with them, and they didn't know that I was on the football team. So I'm asking them, I'm like, oh, why you didn't go out there to help them out? Or, you know what I'm saying? They still got a shot at winning the conference championship, even by them going 0-5. I'm just, you know, throwing little things at them and just trying to see what they had to say. And then I ended it by saying, like, I was like, hey, I'm on the football team. If you got something to say, come out there and see, like, because like I told you earlier, we didn't even have a field to practice or play on. So we driving, you know what I'm saying, all these miles and practicing here, trying to find somewhere to practice. And so it was just a lot of things going on. And we end up still not having the season that we wanted to, but we was real close at going to the conference championship. But it's like, I mean, I hear it's hate all around that campus. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's just my take on it.
It's crazy because I was just watching with my son, Bel Air. I don't know if y'all watching Bel Air. It's a dope series if you're not watching it, but it's dope. But so we watching the first episode and we're watching how the one cat started beefing with Will and saying, like, you know, you ain't that good. You know, if you can come meet me at the court and we can see who better and stuff like that, right? And how so many guys get suckered into that because somebody who is really hating on you and you put yourself in a position where you feel like you have to prove something to them, but then it turns out and the negative energy and all that different stuff. So before that, that's like Will should have known that was going to end up bad. Do you know what I mean? Because haters want to be able to hate on you, and they're going to hate on you regardless of if you prove to whatever you're trying to prove to them or not. That's not going to change them from being a hater. And the thing is, you show people that they're wrong, but it's the way that things escalate. But that scene, like I've seen so many different guys, mess up their lives in that type of a situation. The same thing that was depicted on Bel Air, the same type of situation. Or cats out, cats from the hood, cats from the park, whatever. Everybody else got someplace, and guys are jealous of you. You know what I mean? Or they want to say, you can't, and then it's amazing how you can change a situation. Like for you went and talked to them, right? That whole situation could have gone completely different. Like if you would have came up beefing, like Riff, like, who are you talking to? Like, I'll smack you in your mouth. You know what I mean? Like, you better put some respect on it, and then it just goes from there. That whole one situation escalates into something completely different. So what you just explained is going to be able to show different guys who are in situations like that, because they are going to happen regardless. You know what I mean? And you showed them how you can either go one way or another. And it's just amazing how quickly things can escalate. But, you know, the way you handled it was great. But Amari, I want to ask you, how do you deal with haters, and what haters have you had in your life? These are in any form. They could be in teachers. They could be in, you know what I mean, your peers, you know, whatever form. How do you deal with haters?
With me, I use all that, the hating energy, I use it to motivate me personally, because I like for someone to walk up to me and be like, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. Because I just like to prove them wrong. And I just like to see the little look on their face when I prove them wrong. So that's how I, you know, shut out the haters. But I really haven't had a situation where I had any haters. Yeah, I haven't really had any situations where I had any haters.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, it's coming. You know what I mean? And especially with y'all with this social media era, because we ain't had, you know, I mean, I'm a little older than some of y'all, but I ain't grow up with social media like that. You know what I mean? Social media came a little bit later, so y'all have a whole different thing where anybody can just hate on you from afar and just like, you know, at you. So you make sure that you see it, and that's a whole different level. Like I didn't have that. I didn't grow up with that. You know what I mean? But I don't want to keep y'all too long. But I love your comments. I love the inspiration that you're giving. I want to ask you this, and we could wrap it up. I want to ask you, what's your motivation? So a lot of people have different things that is their motivation. What's your motivation to be successful, to be great, to excel? You know, and what are you doing it for? Now, sometimes it's a little bit of a loaded question, and some people don't know what their motivation is. Some people say, well, my motivation is to prove my haters wrong. Some people want to, you know, make my mama proud, which some people want to, you know what I mean, prove to myself and be the best that I could possibly be and take this sport as far as I can take it. And all of those answers are fine, but I just want to ask all of y'all and then explain what is your motivation. So I'm gonna reverse the order. I'm gonna start off with Marcus. Go ahead, you start off.
So my motivation is my mom, dad, they don't have a college degree. I'll be the first to graduate college. I'm graduating in December. My dad never played any sports before. He was one of the ones, he always tell me, he was the one in the pet rallies, you know what I'm saying, with the fly cars and showing up to the games, and me just being like, I always wanted to play sports. So I really, like, with the support of my parents, I've got a lot on my own. So I just want to get this degree, hopefully take this, you know, athletics to another level, and just making my family proud. Like I said, like I'll be the first to graduate college, first to play college sports. So it's just inspiring my little cousins that's coming up, and that's my motivation.
That's great. That's great. That's great. That's special. You know what I mean? Amari, what's your motivation?
My motivation is I just want like my brother Morehouse brother Claire said, he's gonna be the first person to graduate in his family. I'm the first male to go to college in my family. So I just want to start a legacy with my last name, so my kids can be, you know, set for decades and centuries and stuff like that. So they won't have to go through the things that I went through growing up.
That's good.
And the person I do it for my grandmother, because she didn't get to come see me play not one high school football game. It was her dream to come see me play, but she ended up having 5 strokes. So she would come see me, and the day I had my All-American football game, it was on her birthday, and she had passed a month before that. So she couldn't see me play. So that's why I wake up and do it for every day.
Wow. No, that's special. That's powerful. That's powerful. Khadevis, what is your motivation?
Yeah, for me personally, I believe that the universe or God or whatever you believe in put us here for a specific reason. I believe God put us here on purpose for a purpose, and there's something that each individual have to give to the universe or give to earth or give to the world. And if we don't give it to the world, then the world won't receive it. And so for me, my motivation is whatever it is that the God or the universe gave me to give to the world, I must do just that. And so I'm always motivated, waking up every day. Sometimes I have conversations like this and I feel like, you know what, I might want to share something. And then I say, maybe not. And I go, hold on. If I don't share that, then the universe won't get it and someone needs it. So anything that I do as far as speaking, for as writing, for as coaching, for as mentoring, consulting, I make sure I give it 100% because I truly believe, just like it was for me, the coach that said something to me that resonated with me, the way my mom says she loved me, it resonate with me. I believe that I have to give that back to the universe, because if I don't give it to the universe, then the universe won't get it, and that'll be something that'll be missed. So that's my motivation.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Demario, let me ask you the same question. What's your motivation?
My motivation is my faith. As just a believer, you know, I'm always doing everything for eternity and building the kingdom. I just feel like I'm a servant of God here on earth, and I'm always trying to bring more people to the kingdom. I feel like my life is just to represent him in everything that I do, as a husband and as a father, as a community activist, as a player. No matter what space I'm in, I'm just trying to represent him so that more people can know about him. And then I'm a people person. Like, I just believe in harmony. I believe all people, like, you know, coming together and living united and in peace. And so I just feel like that can't happen unless, you know, we kind of right a lot of wrongs that have happened in our society, particularly the Black people, you know. And so, like, I believe in, like, helping to liberate Black people in a way that can help us all universally live together in harmony and peace, you know. And so I think those are my two biggest factors.
No, that's special. That's special. I mean, I'll just tell y'all my motivation, you know, with the stuff I've done. I do a lot of speaking, I do a lot of writing. I've written, this is my 5th book. And, I was motivated by an incident that happened to me in high school. I was actually driving to a basketball game, and the police stopped me. And, you know, one thing they used to do back in the 90s is whenever they stop you, they'd always, you know, have you get out the car and you have to sit on the ground. That's just how it was. So I had to get out the car, sit on the ground. You know, a backup police car came, another backup came. Each car had, you know, 2 people, so that's 6 cops, right? All standing around. So I'm in this busy intersection, and you know when people like passing you by and they looking at you, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. If they see the lights flash and everything, so I'm sitting here embarrassed. I'm seeing all these people looking at me, and they had me there, you know, for like 45 minutes. I heard them talking. I always seen him somewhere, but he looks familiar. You know, keep looking, keep searching. You know, you ran his plates, you ran this, you ran his license. It's clean. Something. We've seen him before. He looks familiar. This goes on for like 45 minutes. So, you know, then they said, okay, hey, can you pump the trunk of your car? And I was like, you know, don't you need a warrant or something like that for that? And the way they all immediately turned and looked at me, I like jumped. You know what I mean? I say, yeah, go ahead. What am I gonna do? I'm not gonna sit there to argue with them. Yeah, go ahead. Pump my trunk. So they popped my trunk. They lifted up my Booker T. Washington High School bag, and they said, "Oh, he plays for Booker T. That's where we know him." And they all got in their cars and they all left. And then one of them patted me on the shoulder and said, "All right, stay out of trouble." And I was like, "That's it?" You know, this is what I was thinking. I didn't say this. I was like, "That's it? Yeah, you ain't gonna apologize to me. You treating me like a criminal. All this stuff, embarrassing me." So I went. I was late for my game. My head was all messed up. I fouled out all quick, you know what I mean? Hard Charles Oakley fouls, you know what I mean? My head was all messed up. I didn't even sleep that night, right? Next day I'm in class, in speech and debate class. And I'm talking to this little white girl next to me, just venting, just like, man, they only did this because I'm Black. You know, all of this. She's just sitting there listening to me. So then the speech teacher tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Come here in my office, Mr. Bland." And he said, hey, everything that you're saying right there, put that into your speech and make that your original oratory. And so I was like, man, I ain't thinking about writing no speech night right now. You hear what I'm talking about, what they did? And he was like, no. He's like, listen, you write about it and you talk about it, and they're going to listen because you play basketball. And I was like, okay, let me try this. So I did it, and I started getting all this recognition about it. They wrote about it in the papers, all this different stuff. And then I had other cats being like, hey, thank you for talking about this. That happens all the time, but they ain't going to listen to us. And so that's when I was like, oh, shoot, I could use this basketball thing and I could talk to the injustices that are happening and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And so I just kept doing that all through college, all through the pros. And then that became my motivation to like speak up for people that who maybe didn't have the voice to speak up for themselves. So like right now, I connect with family members of victims of police brutality, and I help push them along and elevate their voices and fight with them to get laws changed. And it's a blessing to be able to do that, but it all circled back to athletics. And the only reason why people were listening to me was because I played basketball back in high school. And it's just, it's a blessing to be able to walk in that. You know what I mean? But you heard today, everybody has different things that they are passionate about and different things that they want to bring to the world and speak out about. So I'm going to just wrap it up by just saying, asking each of you, what are the things that you want to speak out about? And what are the things that you would want to use your voice on, the specific topics? Now, for me, like I said, it's always standing up for the people who are, you know, victims of police brutality or victims of racism or victims of injustice. That's my passion. You know what I mean? So I'm going to ask y'all, what is your passion? And we'll wrap it up there. Khadevis, let me start off with you.
My passion is just being authentically yourself. I mean, that's what Khadevism is in every way, shape, or form. There's a lot of people going around the world trying to be someone else, afraid to be themselves, afraid to be real and true to themselves and to who they are. And so my passion is like living in your own moment, who you are, and being authentic with this one life that you have. And so I'm very passionate about that.
That's great. That's great. Marcus, what are you passionate about? What's your passion?
My passion is just really, man, just getting this degree, like graduating. Like I said, I'm just real happy. I'm about to graduate in December. My parents, nobody have no college degrees in my family, so that's my passion is getting this degree, finishing this football season up strong, and just being the best me I can.
That's great. That's perfect right there. Amani, what's your passion?
My passion is to just get through the rest of this school year and, you know, become a leader. Well, I'm already a leader, but, you know, be more vocal on and off the field.
That's great. That's great, man. So listen, I can't thank y'all enough, and I can't stress to y'all enough how this is going to inspire a lot of athletes that watch this. You know what I mean? Like sometimes y'all don't understand the inspiration that y'all really are because you're in it right now. But hearing or seeing like the high school athletes that we show this to, or middle school athletes that they show this to, and they're watching y'all talk about how important it is to get your degree and how much that means to you to be able to get to your degree and make your grandmother proud and, you know what I mean, be a leader and all this different stuff that y'all are saying, it's inspirational. So I appreciate y'all, and I want to thank y'all for having the courage to be able to speak so freely about this. So I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Khadevis, for joining us. I know Demario had to cut out, but his words was great. So I really want to appreciate y'all. I want to, special shout out to the Rainbow Coalition, Reverend Jesse Jackson, and Athletes for Hope for putting this together, because, you know, this is a great series that we're doing, and we're going to keep on doing it. So much respect to y'all. And y'all have a good night. All right.
You too,
All right,
bro.
thank you for having me.
For sure. All right. Peace.
All right, same to you.